Welcome to this special edition of Legal AF Trump on Trial. It's Wednesday, April 17th. There's no court today because calendar day for Judge Juan Merchan is on Wednesdays. He said they might sit occasionally on Wednesdays, but today is the first calendar day. We have had 2 full court days. Day 1 already, where they did some pretrial motions and pretrial just housekeeping ministerial things that happen before every single trial. They just get all the pretrial things out of the way, and then they move right into jury selection. And here we are in the middle of jury selection. It's moving about as fast as you would imagine jury selection, and certainly in my experience of jury selection in New York State Supreme Court, which is where I spent my entire career practicing. And this is what it's like. It seems so utterly ordinary, so much so that there's been reporting that Trump nods off every once in a while. But that makes sense because it takes a lot of time to get through getting a jury. And this is not taking any longer or shorter than normal. And I am so honored to have Norm Eisen, who is not only a good friend, but is my go-to resource for so much when it comes to what's going on, what the law is, et cetera. And Norm has written this unbelievable book that is serving as the Bible for everybody on this particular trial. Everybody has a trial notebook when you're a trial lawyer. You put together in a binder everything you need to know, so it's ready at your fingertips. And this is my trial binder. This is what I use. And so, Norm, thank you so much for being that resource, for putting that together, for giving us all your time, your energy, and for being here this morning. Welcome, and thank you so, so much. Tell us what it's like to be in the courtroom. Norm, you are sitting in the courtroom all day, every day. It's not videotaped. It's not audio taped. So you're the best thing we have to telling us exactly what it's like.
Well, thank you, Karen. You're my guide to all things district attorney related because of your long and brilliant tenure in that office, and because you are so wise. Karen and I like to joke that common sense, as my mother would say, common sense isn't common. And when I really want to get the sense of what is going to happen in New York, I go to Karen, and she was a tremendous resource for me in researching and editing Trying Trump, my new book. Having spent the better part of the past, since 1991, so over 30 years in courtrooms. And really, I started out in 1985 when I got out of college. My first job required me to go to court and to look at legal stuff. So that's a very long time. I have to say that I'm extremely impressed all the way around with the judge, the prosecution team, the defense team, which now that they're allowed to do their jobs, they're doing them competently, and with the jurors. I'm not so impressed with Donald Trump's behavior, which kind of ran the spectrum between napping. I caught him out on one of those nap breaks that were so reported about this week. In napping on one end of the spectrum, and juror intimidation on the other. But even Trump, and then of course you also had his out-of-court shenanigans, which led to him being served with an order to show cause why he should not be held in contempt. So putting Mr. Trump to the side, I thought I'd give you a quick tour when we were chatting about what we wanted to do on today's show. Karen very kindly kept me company as I went for my coffee break to get a to get a coffee, my first coffee of the day. For the this has been what we call a dark day, but in a good sense. The courtroom, it's not actually dark because he's having his calendar calls, right? It's all his other cases. But for us, it's a down day for everybody who's been attending court.
A calendar day for people who don't practice law is a judge has a docket, right? A calendar. A judge has a list of cases that he is either deciding motions like this, right? This case was on his calendar multiple times before trial. He has a bunch of other cases. And so what he does is he puts them all on for Wednesdays so that people can file their motions and ask him for things that need judicial intervention. So tell us where you're sitting in the courtroom and what your perspective is there.
Where we sit varies. I started attending for the delay hearing, what was supposed to be the first day of jury selection, March 25th. That was my first day in the courtroom. I was seated about 3-4 rows behind Trump that day on the defense side of the courtroom. And it just depends what day you get there. For me as a practicing attorney, it's a funny feeling to have a press pass. But I'm covering for all the writing I do. So I did get that qualification and sit with the press for the jury selection. As you know, Karen, they bring the jurors in, they fill the courtroom up with the jurors. So other than the pool, a few reporters who are in the actual courtroom, the rest of us are in an overflow room. And in some ways, the overflow is better than than being in the courtroom, because you can see Trump's face much more clearly.
And the reason you're in the overflow room is because when they pick a jury, they bring 100 people in, and wouldn't be enough room if you were in the actual courtroom. So do you expect that you'll be in the courtroom during the trial?
Oh yeah, I'm going to be there every day. Trial, which might start as soon as Monday.
We'll start Monday. I thought we were taking Passover off. Didn't he say we were taking Monday?
The trial calendar is interesting. It looked like we were going to be slow to pick a jury. Then we had a very productive day yesterday. We got 7 jurors in. We're going to need 12 jurors and 6 alternates. So we're 7 jurors along the way to 18. The schedule on Monday is that the judge will likely go, he said, until 2:00. Then he'll let people leave to get to their Passover Seders Monday night. He'll work through lunch. So we could have openings if he's able to fill all 18 of those seats. We could have opening statements in the trial as soon as Monday morning. At the rate we've been going, I don't think we're going to quite get there on Monday morning. He's going to work on Tuesday. So there's a wrinkle. Unless there's a juror who is a Passover observer, of which I am a Passover observer. So other than that, we could open Tuesday. Wednesday's off, so Thursday is another possibility. I would say right now, if I were forced to guess, I think the odds are roughly even between a Monday-Tuesday start and a Thursday start. I do think we will very likely get rolling no later than Thursday of next week.
Great. So take us in the courtroom. Tell us what you've seen. Tell us what you've heard. Give us a flavor.
So I'll give you a little tour around the courtroom and the week. For me, the motions in limine, we started on Monday morning with arguing the remaining evidentiary questions. What evidence will come in? What evidence won't come in? The DA really took advantage of that to do a preview of his case, and it was argued by Joshua Steinglass, one of the members of the trial team. And Steinglass took advantage of that to preview the case. This is really an election interference case, and that is how the case is being discussed. That is how the case was summarized when the jury came in by the judge, that it's a conspiracy, alleged criminal election influence in 2016. And Steinglass started off by structuring the evidentiary arguments to do a little preview for the judge and the press, while also arguing the technical points that he needed to get the evidence in. I thought that was a brilliant strategic move, particularly for the judge, because he wants to hammer this judge on the seriousness of the case. If it's a mere hush money case, it's not as serious. If it's election interference, then it's like a gateway drug for 2020. So he started with the formation of the conspiracy to influence the 2016 election, which was a meeting of Donald Trump, Michael Cohen, David Pecker, the publisher of the National Enquirer, to, in essence, agree that they were going to catch and kill negative stories about Donald Trump to benefit his campaign. They were agreeing on a set of covert campaign and illegal corporate campaign contributions. Steinglass framed that argument, taking us to the beginning of the conspiracy, because he wanted to get in a bunch of National Enquirer headlines. He succeeded. Then we marched through a set of evidentiary issues of each stage of this evolving conspiracy. The other people who were subject to the catch and kill, like Karen McDougal, another person Trump had an affair with, and so on and so forth, the Access Hollywood tape, and culminating in issues relating to the two key witnesses to the payment, the illicit campaign contribution, allegedly, that's at issue here, $130,000, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, and Trump's intimidation of them. So that was very well done. We finished that. We got off in the afternoon picking jurors. It was very slow at first as we did the preliminaries on picking the jurors. The judge has written the most elaborate jury questionnaire that I have ever seen. It's truly, and you know, I've seen a lot of them over the past 3 decades plus. And each juror stands up and has to orally answer each of the dozens of questions in this questionnaire. You know, it was cumbersome at first, but the beauty of it is the press, the judge, the parties get to evaluate each of these jurors. You saw right away with the jury pool that it is a Manhattan jury pool, and there are going to be a lot of people in this jury pool who are not going to fall for Trump's blandishments. I think I thought it was a very impressive group of jurors. I'll come to that on day 2. So we got started with the questioning of the jurors, and then day 2, we really got into it. And this is where you have the contrasting styles of the prosecution and the defense that, again, were on display. Prosecution they know that in this pool are the people who will decide their case and decide Trump's fate. And they took a very chatty, easygoing kind of front porch approach to talking to the jurors and seeding their case. They asked a series of questions because they know this is a jury pool that is basically on their side. So they asked a series of questions to probe how receptive the jurors are to their case. Again, it was like that motions, that evidentiary argument. They're setting up the trial. Trump's team, led by Todd Blanche, and the jury questioning alternated between Steinglass and Susan Hoffinger. On Trump's side, Todd Blanche was solely interested in weeding out the most anti-Trump jurors. They did something that was pretty unusual. Even as the jurors were being told they can't go on social media to look at this case, they went on the jurors' public social media. I talked to my jury consultant. We agreed we had not seen this kind of an aggressive 21st century digital research operation on prospective jurors. They went on the jurors' social media pages, and Blanche cross-examined jurors. He was cordial, but he was tough. And he's looking to get he has challenges for cause if a juror is biased or dishonest. He did get a couple knocked out for cause. And then he has peremptory challenges where you have, as you know, you have 10 challenges for any reason whatsoever. You can knock a juror off. So by the end of the day, yesterday, both sides had used some of their peremptories. They're holding some in reserve. Both sides had done challenges for cause. The judge brought jurors back in one-on-one, a number of them where there were questions, including about these social media postings. We did get a couple jurors knocked off, and I thought that the overwhelming majority of the jurors were very, very honest. But there were a few who seemed to want to get in there to get Trump. And maybe they weren't as candid in explaining some of those posts. So the judge said, I don't credit them. They're out.
But that just goes to show the system works, right? People know how to weed out the stealth jurors, typically. And every once in a while, one gets through that lied. But typically, the system seems to work, and it seems to be working here. Would you agree?
Yeah. So my big takeaway, you wanted to know my takeaway from inside the courtroom. And you know this. Sometimes you get a bad judge. By the way, sometimes the bad judge doesn't always disfavor your side, but they're just not up to the task. That's not Judge Merchan. He is excellent. I was chatting with some of the courthouse staff, and they think he's one of the best judges. That's a sign.
He is. He really is.
He's really superb. Again, he's not Oliver Wendell Holmes, right? He's practical, commonsensical, very experienced, but he knows how to do this. His opinions are right. I just think I can't imagine a better judge for this case in 100 Center Street. So I thought the DA very effective, and I thought Blanche was effective in ferreting out, and the team, Susan Necklace, their colleagues, they were effective in ferreting out some of the jurors who were a little over the line. They failed on others, but that's just a Manhattan jury. So what about then the last thing is Trump? There were the infamous naps. I was sitting, and watching, perched on the edge of my seat after we got the first one, and I caught him nodding off yesterday morning. I immediately tweeted it out. Because it is, at times, those rooms can be warm and stuffy. And, I forgive him. What I can't forgive him for doing is gesticulating, grimacing, and carrying on when one of the jurors was brought back for questioning yesterday. Additional voir dire is what we call the questioning of the jurors one-on-one, and the judge couldn't forgive him either. And the judge came down on him when they excused that juror back out of the room. Like a
what did he do?
The judge castigated him.
No, what did Trump do? What was the thing that he did that caused the castigation?
When this juror, who was a very liberal Manhattanite, was explaining the jurors' social media postings, which Trump's team, their investigators, had harvested, and that's legit. It's unusual. Did you ever have a case where, as part of voir dire, people were bringing in Twitter and Facebook postings?
Did I? Yes. Not only did I used to actually train on it because it's you have to do it, right, in this day and age. And I would train our lawyers, you got to do it, you have to do it. But there's a couple of real nuances. So one of the instructions that a judge will give lawyers and jurors is there's no contact, right? You can't have any contact whatsoever with a jury.
Yes.
So much so that even if you see each other in the halls or in the elevator or in the bathroom, you bump into each other, you're not even supposed to say hi. And the judge will always tell the jurors, don't think that's rude. The parties you can't have any contact. That's the surefire way to derail a case. And so I train people, you look on social media, but you can't like their post. You can't friend them. If it's not public and you try to follow them, that's considered contact. So it's very, very, you have to be very careful. But yeah, anything that somebody puts out there publicly, you absolutely, I think it's almost malpractice not to check at this stage of where we are in life. So I wasn't surprised that they did that, but go on.
So what I thought was remarkable here was the balancing act that the judge did on those postings. He really did a forensic analysis of them. Obviously, Trump wanted to make them as negative possible. But to go back to my point, Trump lost it, Karen, with this one juror, and he was really carrying on with Blanche. He was, according to the pool report, waving his hands. He was audible. He was agitated, gesturing, gesticulating, making faces. And when the
juror
left,
could you see any of that?
No, we could not see it. We rely on the pool for that. When the juror left, but we got the pool is our eyes and ears. The TV was turned off at this point because they don't want to expose the juror who's standing at the lectern. They're very elaborate precautions to avoid identifying the jurors. When the juror left, they came down on Trump like a ton of bricks.
Did you see that?
Yes. And the judge was livid. And he said, I actually made notes of it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find my notes. I'll tell you exactly what they said. Merchan says, do not do that in my courtroom. If you do that again, I will not tolerate it. Here's what he says. I will not have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom. Your client was audible. I don't know what he was saying, but he was muttering. I won't have it. And the tone, Karen, was so severe. You know, Merchan, now I've been in and out of court. He's a very measured, modulated individual. But boy, he came down on a ton of bricks. He came down like a ton of bricks. So, and there were no more misbehavior from Trump yesterday. This comes against the backdrop of next week, we're going to have a hearing on whether Trump should be held in contempt for 4 social media postings attacking witnesses. And I think the judge is signaling, by the tone, he's signaling his that he's prepared to be quite severe with Trump. And that's what you need to control Trump, because otherwise, give him an inch, he'll take a mile.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So tell us how you think his lawyers are doing.
I think they're doing, I thought it was a solid voir dire, top notch, good research, good utilization of research, as we talked about. I thought the manner with the jury, they have a problem. I mean, this is a very, I won't say anti-Trump. Well, it is a very anti-Trump jury pool. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with the jurors because they said, look, whatever, I have political disagreements. Yes. Do I have political disagreements with President Trump? I do. I leave that at the door. I'm not bringing that in the courtroom. I haven't focused on this case. I'm going to decide this case on the merits. I will decide based on the facts and the law. If they said, no, I like President Trump, that would have been dishonest. So given that it's a very tough jury pool for the former president, I thought Blanche and the team, they were all working. You could see them all on the closed circuit. I thought they were very effective in questioning, using their half hour. The lawyers, each side gets an initial half hour to question the jury box, and then another 20 minutes for follow-up. I thought they used their time very effectively. Can
you glean anything from the jurors who were selected, what each side is looking for? And tell us a little bit about the jurors. Are they?
Yes. Trump is clearly, each side is looking for very different things. The DA is happy with most Manhattanites. So the default for the DA is to accept jurors. There was one juror who, under questioning, indicated that he was from the finance industry, that he grew up in a Republican part of Texas. There was another juror who knew many people, who was in, I think, the real estate industry, who knew many people, who knew Trump, including some who were close colleagues of Trump. There's some odds and ends like that where the DA is going to attempt to elicit connections. The jury questionnaire is good at drawing that out, and the DA is going to bar those jurors, either using challenges for cause because it shows bias. One of these jurors did say, look, I think I would have an unconscious pro-Trump bias, out. And the judge dismisses some of them. Or to use peremptories. And the DA did use some peremptories. Trump has a much tougher challenge. If the DA is simply looking for a Manhattan jury pool with the most extreme people removed, Trump is looking for a jury pool that is more like Trump's core: law enforcement personnel, blue-collar workers. You and I were talking about the fact that race is not necessarily a proxy, that Trump is a brilliant, flawed, but brilliant natural politician, and he has fans in every racial, religious, ethnic, demographic group. It is a disproportionate, though, but in the end of the day, the jury we got was disproportionately educated. You have secondary degrees on this jury. You do have 2 lawyers on the jury. It is a very good jury for the DA, because I think the DA has a strong case, as the judge described it, a conspiracy to allegedly influence the 2016 election and then cover it up by falsifying documents. I think the DA has a very powerful case, and I think he's got a jury that's going to find it persuasive. So stepping back, there's three large points about where we are after 2 days of trial. The first point is that, including on day one, when the evidentiary motions were argued and when the judge read his summary of what this case is, this case has come very sharply into focus as an election interference one. Do you know, Karen, when the judge read the case summary, when the judge read the case summary, he did not use the words hush money. I'm having such a great time with you that I'm neglecting all of my other duties.
I know. I see how busy you are. So we'll just let you finish.
Wait, I'm doing my summation. Okay. So point number one is the case has come into focus, and it's not a hush money case. It's an election interference case. It's a precursor to what happened in 2020, deceiving voters to grasp power and covering it up. That's the 2020 election interference model. And the DA is going to attempt to prove that here. Trump is innocent until proven guilty, but that is a powerful case. That is not exactly the case that we expected. Number two, we have a strong team, judge, prosecution team, very good defense team if Trump lets them do their job. But number three, the open and we have a good jury. So the building blocks of doing justice are there. And I have confidence based on spending time in that courtroom, observing the picking of these 7 jurors. It's a good, solid, smart, diverse jury that will follow the evidence and the law. I think that likely leads to a conviction because powerful evidence and the law. Number three, and the big unresolved question, can and will Judge Merchan control Trump when he acts out, like with those social media posts attacking witnesses? We won't have a hearing on that until Tuesday morning. That's a long time, in my view. Or will the judge keep him on a short leash like when Trump was inappropriate with that juror? That's a big open question here. And of course, Trump is going to try this case in court and in the court of public opinion, and was in a bodega in Harlem after the jury selection yesterday. He's talking to the people of Manhattan. So those are my three takeaways.
Norm, he wasn't just in any bodega. He's no dummy. This is the bodega where the bodega worker was arrested. He was getting robbed, and he defended himself, and he got arrested for shooting somebody. And they ended up dismissing that case. But I'm telling you, people were in there chanting 4 more years when he was in there. It was very smart of him to go in there and to try to get people in Harlem on his side.
And that's the challenge. That's my third point. The judge is going to have to wrestle with a defendant like no other. And we'll see. We'll see what happens on Tuesday.
Where do you fall on I believe he's going to testify. What is your guess? What is your vote?
I believe you are more likely right than not that he will testify. But Karen, you have to have me back for more trial report.
You are the busiest person I know, so I'm going to let you go because all the people who are trying to get a hold of you will not allow you to come back if I don't let you go right now. So I'm letting you go now because I want you back as much as I can. Thank you so much, Norm.
I look forward to doing it. Thanks for all you do. You are a treasure for all of us who follow this case. And all of your viewers and listeners got the opportunity to have a little slice of my life with all those beeps and pings and phone rings. So see you soon. Thank you, Karen.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram @MidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.